Before this video begins, I would like to let you all know that I show no direct political view against anyone, person or people. Just so you get that, let's begin. Hello everyone, I hope you are all doing well. This is my point of view as to why ULEZ should not be in place, as well as the proposed Superloop plan. For those who have no clue as to what ULEZ even is. ULEZ, Ultra-Low Emission Zone, is a concept implemented by some cities to address air pollution and promote cleaner air quality. An ultra-low emission zone is an area within a city where vehicles that do not meet strict emissions standards are subject to additional charges or restrictions in order to enter and operate. This operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year, except Christmas Day, 25th of December. The zone currently covers all areas within the North and South Circular roads. The North Circular, A406, and South Circular, A205, roads are not in the zone. ULEZ restricts all cars that don't meet the requirements of the following. If your diesel vehicle is older than 2015. If your petrol vehicle is older than 2005. This means that if you don't meet the requirements, you will have to pay the £12.50 fare every day. The ULEZ is expanding from the August 29, 2023 across all London boroughs, basically Greater London. All large and heavy vehicles like lorries, vans, buses, minibuses, coaches don't need to pay the ULEZ fine. They will have to pay the LEZ charge, low emission zone, charge, if they don't meet the standards, which is why in 2019, they started withdrawing older buses from central London and Greater London as a whole. Non-UK registered cars will have to also pay the fare as well. This scheme was considered by Boris Johnson in 2015 to only cover central London to improve air quality in 2020. Again, I'm not into politics or here to say which mayor was better, but at the same time, we can clearly tell that Boris did a better job at being mayor than PM, mainly through his Boris buses, aka the new route masters you see around central London, as well as the Boris spikes you see around. Like even the former mayor Boris Johnson is against ULEZ.
Hi folks, Boris Johnson here. I know quite a lot about improving air quality in London. I brought in a lot more cycling, I brought in new hybrid buses, I brought in green electric taxis, and we got nitrous oxide down by 20%, we got PM10s, PM2.5s down by 15%, and that was even before we brought in the ULEZ, the ultra-low emission zone, for inner London. And you do not need an all-London emission zone, an outer London emission zone. It's inner London that has the air quality problem. And of course, you don't need an outer London emission zone, an ultra-low emission zone for the whole of London in the way that Sadiq Khan is imposing one, because by 2030, all new cars in this country are going to be much cleaner and greener anyway. There's only one reason why he's doing it, and that is because he has bankrupted TfL by his mismanagement of the finances of London, and he wants to rake in money from motorists in outer London and beyond in a way that is completely unreasonable and unnecessary for air quality. So stop Khan's mad ULEZ expansion plan, fight the outer London ULEZ, fight his plans to take money off hard-pressed motorists at a very, very difficult time, and stop this mad lefty tax on people's lives and livelihoods.
This scheme was purposely placed in urban areas to charge people, which grew in October 2021 inside the North and South Circular Road, which is now to be introduced on the 29th of August 2023 across Greater London. The name itself, ULEZ, shows a contradiction. What is a zone? A zone covers a certain area within a geographical area, not the whole area. The scheme is senseless. And I am coming to why it is. Why might people use a car? People use a car mainly because there is no bus access to certain areas. Buses don't serve minor roads, which means that people need to use their car to get to shops and main cities. Side roads where even the smallest of buses cannot squeeze through. To the people who are disabled, elderly or less able to walk and live in areas where buses and trains aren't accessible, what are they going to do? Do they have to pay the £12.50 fare every day? If they do, that would be £4,562.50 a year. It has been 1,600 days since ULEZ was introduced, so people in central London have paid £20,000 since the 8th of April 2019. This is an average yearly salary. As 2019 was 4 years ago, a quarter of what they earn would already have been spent on ULEZ alone. After MOT, car tax, fuel, tires and all types of insurance to keep a car well maintained. If people in inner London as in the North and South Circular Roads paid since the 25th of October 2021, then that's already £8,300. Don't forget that it is just one person. ULEZ policies could potentially lead to unintended consequences, such as increased traffic congestion. Some individuals might avoid the ULEZ areas by taking longer routes or using alternative modes of transportation, which could actually result in higher overall emissions. This phenomenon is known as induced demand. This will also lead to a decrease in the value of older vehicles that do not meet the emission standards. This could impact individuals who rely on the used car market for affordable transportation options. There are many people protesting against ULEZ in a number of ways. From a man hunger striking at Uxbridge to people tearing down ULEZ cameras. Watch here.
The man who's on a hunger strike at the moment. It's day 2. Let's find out how it's going. Prabdeep, thanks for speaking to us. Really appreciate it. Thanks for speaking to GB News. No, don't move for us. It's day 2. First of all, how was last night? It was your first night, right?
No, last night was my first night.
Yeah.
But I started on Sunday around 8 o'clock.
Okay.
So you can include Sunday as well. Sunday, and then the Monday was second night. It's going to be the third day today and the third night.
Yeah. Why are you doing this?
Well, it is I'm battling against the cost of living crisis. I started my fight last year, with the rising cost of living, and as we are already struggling, and there is another burden on the people with the ULEZ. So it has a very big effect on the the people's life, not only economically, emotionally as well. And also, if it's a discrimination to those who cannot afford to buy upgrade the new vehicle. Even if you want to upgrade, according to the Auto Trader statistics, your compliant vehicle will cost you around 18,000 plus.
Yeah.
So people on low wages, they can't upgrade either.
Yeah.
So it is a discrimination. And this is what I'm battling.
I'd ask the gentleman on hunger strike to reconsider. Nobody wants anybody to be on hunger strike. Nobody wants anybody to be inconvenienced by this policy, which will save lives, protect children's lungs, and also tackle the climate emergency.
Last week, the Mayor relaxed the rules to allow more Londoners to apply for a grant to scrap their car or van ahead of the ULEZ expansion. But volunteers at this food bank in Barking say that £2,000 is nowhere near enough to replace their older cars.
There are going to be people who are going to be going hungry, and it is really, a concern for us that we're having many sleepless nights of trying to work out where we're going to go to get this funding. We did try to raise some funds, but we haven't had any joy.
The Mayor's scrappage scheme is of no use to Prabdeep Singh either. He lives outside London, so can't apply.
Also, electric cars are also powered by diesel, guys, so what's the point?
Electric vehicles are powered by batteries that are charged by coal plants and diesel generators. This is the biggest scam.
Like deep this, guys. What's different about a diesel car in 2014 and 2015? A 2014 car is still gonna produce the same amount of pollution anyways in a 2015 car. What is different about a petrol car in 2004 and 2005? Were the car manufacturers like in 2005? Let's reduce the amount of petrol exhausts in this car. Here is a clip of an Harrow East MP calling on Sadiq Khan to stop the expansion of ULEZ.
Now in Westminster Hall right now, there's a debate going on about the outrageous decision by the Labour Mayor of London to introduce the ULEZ zone to the whole of London from next year. This is another attack on drivers, and in my constituency, where every household has 2.5 cars on average, drivers are going to have to pay an extra £12.50 a day just to get to work, to the hospital, to drop their kids off, or to drive to the shops to do the weekly shop. Electric cars are far too expensive still, and in very short supply. And public transport is certainly not frequent or reliable, leaving most of my constituents in very difficult positions, and particularly our key workers who have to work night shifts when there is no public transport provision available, so driving is the only option. Clearly the Mayor has not taken into account public opinion, as more than 66% of those consulted opposed this expansion, and indeed in my constituency the estimates we've got is that only 1% were actually in favour. So he's clearly flying in the face of the views of the public. And indeed the recent strikes have exacerbated the position of those relying on cars to get to work, school, hospital or the shops, because public transport can't be trusted or relied upon.
This is the statement he wrote out. As many will know, the do-nothing Mayor of London is planning to expand the ultra-low emission zone, ULEZ, across all London boroughs from 29th of August 2023, which includes Harrow. This shows a complete disregard for the views of Londoners, as 66% of responses to the consultation on the ULEZ expansion voted against these ill-thought-out and unnecessary proposals, and it has been discovered that the difference the expansion would make to air quality is negligible. He is also challenged by many people here.
Lee, while I'm on here, can I please issue the Mayor a challenge? I want to challenge the Mayor. I will pick him up from his home, free of charge. I won't even put our meter on. I will pick him up after midnight, and I will take him round the whole of his London that he is in charge of and show him how it has become a lawless London. The once great city of London is now lawless.
So there you go, Mayor Khan. Gary the cabbie has got a challenge for you.
Latest in the battle to stop Sadiq Khan extending the controversial ULEZ scheme, and there's another setback for campaigners hoping to block the Mayor of London's plans. Khan says the decision to expand it across all London boroughs next Tuesday will reduce pollution, affecting 5 million people. Well, it's come in for heavy criticism from campaigners, but it's reported that any attempt by the government to overturn the expansion would fail in the courts. So drivers of vehicles that don't conform to the ULEZ rules have to pay £12.50 a day if they enter the zone. There's rather a lot to this story, and here to help unpick it is Conservative MP Jonathan Gullis. Jonathan, thank you very, very much. So, people might think that maybe this should have gone to the court. Should the government have not put up more of a fight if they disagree with it that vehemently?
Look, Patrick, when you get legal advice, you're told about the probability of winning. I highly doubt that the government have been told that it would be illegal for them to take this to court. And let's not forget that Nigel Farage exposed the fact there's the Greater London Authority Act that says that if a policy is out of touch with national policy, which it is, no government at this moment in time is they aren't calling for ULEZ at any place to go anywhere across the country. This is the Mayor's own choice to expand ULEZ across Greater London, despite the fact the science says it will have zero to minimal impact on actually improving air quality. The fact that he lost a by-election in Uxbridge and South Ruislip, where people roundly rejected the ULEZ, where we've seen London boroughs take the Mayor to court, the government should now have the people's backs of Greater London and take Sadiq Khan to court to say that what he is doing is against what government policy would be and is an abuse of his power as far as I'm concerned, and ultimately will not actually improve air quality at all.
2020 was a terrible year, as many of you know. It was one of the worst years ever for many people. Obviously, as people couldn't leave their houses, it meant that people weren't traveling. Public transport was for free, as people were told to social distance themselves from the driver by entering through the back doors. This clearly resulted in TfL losing money. They could say that they're trying to build back better, But don't forget, this is an agenda to charge people who do not need to be charged. You could say to people who don't have a ULEZ compliant car, then buy another one. What if they cannot afford another car that meets the ULEZ standards? How can they sell a car in London that does not meet the ULEZ requirements to someone else? It would be difficult for them too. Will the ULEZ requirements change in 2024 to 2006 petrol and 2016 diesel cars? Sadiq Khan and TfL must understand that there was a crisis in 2020 and people have to accept that other businesses, not just TfL, have also been in some sort of crisis. So by ULEZ, Sadiq Khan is tearing down people's business, especially of those who are recovering of COVID. People who do taxi jobs, delivery, care jobs and just basic jobs just to get by. TfL has more than enough money to maintain itself from going into a financial crisis and crash. Why can't Sadiq Khan spend enough money on tackling racism on London's networks or police forces, or knife crime, or even tougher sentences to criminals who try to even destroy the foundation of London? But no, this is what he'd rather do. People are literally starving in London, people are on the streets, homeless, people's houses are filled with mold and on the verge of falling apart. Does he care? No. How does the government sleep at night when they know that this is what people are going through? People who live in outer London cannot afford to live in central London and therefore may not have a new ULEZ compliant car because they cannot afford one. This is not to shame anyone, but this is the general reason why people don't live in central London. Recently on the 28th July, just a month before ULEZ was to be introduced, London boroughs, Harrow, Hillingdon, Bexley and Bromley lost the battle against ULEZ.
We've got some breaking news. A High Court judge has just issued its view on the challenge that 5 Conservative-led councils had taken in the High Court to challenge Mayor of London Sadiq Khan's plans to expand the capital's ultra-low emission zone, the ULEZ. Of course, it's had a lot of coverage, of course, of late because of the by-election results in Uxbridge and South Ryslip this time last week. And just as a reminder, it was due to be expanded significantly in terms of the geographic region it covered from inner and central London to include a lot more of these councils within the M25 region on the 29th of August. These 5 councils had challenged that decision, saying that Sadiq Khan as mayor had exceeded his legal powers with such a large expansion of the scheme, but the High Court has disagreed with those 5 councils.
It's pointless to even introduce the scheme if 9 out of 10 cars are already compliant. There are 2.6 million cars in Greater London, so 260,000 cars don't meet the requirement. This would lead people to sell their cars and reduce the level of cars in Greater London, which Sadiq is happy about. Let's say that all cars that aren't compliant decide to all pay the £12.50 fare. Is there going to make a difference?